Welcome to ReEnvision, the podcast where we embrace change as one of life's most profound rhythms. I'm your host, Bédard, and change is my playground. Curiosity is the signature vibe. Joy, love, magic, and freedom are the frequencies I move with. Courage is the embodied state, and duality is my jam. I love to reveal light and darkness, permanence and impermanence, equanimity and chaos, oneness and distinctiveness. Here we have full permission to be ourselves, to explore, to dream, to discover. We'll tap into the wisdom that has always been within as we navigate change with simplicity, lightness, and fluidity. Open to new understandings, new perspectives, and even greater potentialities. So whether you're seeking inspiration, empowerment, or simply a space to reflect and contemplate, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the ReEnvision Podcast. I am so happy as usual to open the mic and to drop in. And today is actually with a different energy. In the past weeks, I have been working a lot behind the scene on what's the next step for me, what's the next step for this business that I'm creating, and where do I come from, where am I going? Like I've had a lot of time to reflect and contemplate and really see where my soul is called to be and to connect in all the beautiful different ways. And I have resisted this for a long time. When we left Canada to come to Germany, my business was a continuity of whatever I was doing. And in the meantime, I didn't realize that this life change was going to really impact the way that I see the world, the way that I move in the world, the way that I speak, the way that I'm connecting to myself. It would really change everything that I have ever understood up until then. But at the same time, it wasn't so much of a change as much as a reveal of what was already there. And I held on to what I had built professionally through my business for a long time. And, there's so many things that I had to navigate here in grounding my business and trying to find a way to have everything, all the certification, all the background recognized here, which is proving to be more difficult than I want to say expected at first, but then cared to right now. And it really pushed me into a reflection and contemplation upon over what do I want next. I am so good at moving freely in my life and making decisions that don't make sense. For me in my life, it was easier than for my business. And the business that I'm creating is linked to me because it's a personal brand. So obviously the impact of me evolving and growing through everything that has happened has a direct impact on the business and has a direct impact on what I want to do next. And, for those of you that know this, I am a biologist by training. I have a master's in biology. And then over the years, I did a naturopath. I also, I'm an Essentrics instructor, and I was doing a lot of that, and it was actually going well. And all of a sudden, I'd say about 2 years ago, around this time of the year, which is really amazing, we moved into our beautiful house here out in the country. And the first thing that happened, within that week, is I fell down the stairs and I sprained my ankle really badly, which stop everything that I was doing, like moving wise. And it was also like in the time where I was thinking about what was going to be the next step here, and had so many hurdles like come my way, and being in blocking the way for me to move forward, preventing me from continuing business as usual, completely disrupted what I was doing. And I resisted that for a long time, because when we moved here, there was so many things that I was ready to let go, but that business that I had started to build and that was going well was not something that I wanted to sacrifice. And it was really something that brought me back to, grieving, because that was a phase of my life, a part of my life that I wasn't ready to let go, or to let it change, or to surrender to whatever was coming. And the more that I was resisting, the more it was collapsing. The more I was resisting, the more it was collapsing. And last year, I decided to do like a existential flex. I really looked at everything that I wanted to do, continue to do, and I realized that everything that was collapsing was things that I didn't want to do anymore, which was really interesting to admit to myself, because like I had worked to build like this naturopathic business. I had fun doing it, but there was something that was behind the scene that was already emerging in the way that I was doing business and the way that I was guiding my clients, that I was already calling very rapidly to have a shift, to up level to something else. So I started to remove the noise. I started to really make sure that I was clear on what I wanted to do versus what I thought or what I was conditioned to doing. And it proved to be much harder than I feel doing in my life. And it's really interesting, because when we're looking at who we are, there's so much of who we are that is linked to what we do, like professionally. And coming from a very logical background, letting go of that, even if I knew in my heart and my soul that it was the right thing, I had to really peel away a lot of the BS that I had incorporated as if it was my own when it wasn't. And rapidly, I made space for a lot more, and I expanded, and I actually got support through mentorship and coaching, not just on the business side, but also like for the human in me, like so human first, that beautiful harmony that there is between our human experience and our soul's purpose. And the more I was doing that, the more I was getting clearer and clearer and clearer of what I was called to be doing since I was a little girl into this life of mine. And I have been trying several things in the sense that I was experimenting, and this is really like I'm really underlining the experiment part. I like to experiment, and I did that all my life. Like the fact that people were like, oh no, like you have to do it this way, and then I was trying to like do other stuff like an experiment and see how it lands and see how it felt in my body. I kind of always like made the excuse, well, I'm a scientist, like I'm a scientist, so like, so the experiencing side and the taking risk side was kind of like supported by the scientist side, which is kind of interesting because it is also the logical side. So playing with all of that was really interesting last year. So I explored different types of containers. I explore different, like I voiced in different ways where I was coming from, where I thought I was going, and like getting everything out of my head and getting everything out of my, out of my chest and really moving through that. And I've had so much support behind the scene and people that were like just welcoming whatever was going on, whatever I was moving into or through. And it was such a great experience to do so. And the more I was doing that, the more I was not only getting clarity, but also finding back my mojo, finding back my magic, finding back like what makes me me and what makes me magnetic with the people that I attract and that I want to work with. And as I'm recording this last episode of season 3 of the ReEnvision Podcast, it really is so amazing, because last year when I put together all this stuff like for the ReEnvision Podcast, it was to always like have a background of like, how do we move through life, like through all those changes, all those cycles, whether it's like cycles that are not repeating themselves or rhythms that are actually cycles that are repeating themselves? Do we want to keep it? Do we want to step out of that repetition? Like, how are we moving in this, and how are we exploring this, and how are we re-envisioning the next step, re-envisioning what's coming, re-envisioning like, oh my God, like this is so like cool. I never thought of this, or I never allowed myself to do this. I never gave myself permission. And as I was going through all this stuff, like it was really interesting because I was pulling out like all the, I've been writing since I can write. I have, things that I've wrote since like early childhood, and drawing like the golden thread, like how do I see the world, and how do I like move through the world, and what was really like there was kept there and had that purity of being that could not be tainted by the noise, that could not be tainted by anything else that was coming in. And while I was leveraging and being super good at navigating everything that was expected of me and how society works, and like I really was good at doing that, it really came to a great cost for my being. And that's why, I've had depressions or burnouts in my life. So all of this time that I spent thinking about what I wanted to put in my business and what it would look like while keeping all the freedom that I had built towards was really like a wonderful exploration. And this is the last episode of the season 3. Season 4 is going to be coming back in a little while. I'm going to take a little break. When it comes back, it's going to come back with something different. I have, in the past few weeks, I've been, working with a physiotherapist therapist on fascia in my body, releasing everything, all emotions, all events in my life that has been stuck in my body, because the body does remember, and anything that we don't process kind of like gets lodged into our body somewhere, and we're meant to go back, and if we don't, then happens when people develop cancers. People like there's so many things that is starting to emerge as to like how the body work, how the psyche work, how we're moving into his body, and how does moving away from healthy relationship with our body, healthy body, mind, healthy soul, healthy everything, how we're creating so many dis-ease in our lives. And I've been really, as a healer, through everything that I've studied, learned, the experience that I've had personally with the people around me, with my clients, how do I bring it to the next level? So we're really addressing even more and more the source causes of what's going on. And at the end also, how do we circle back all the time to, like revisit and unlock and revisit and unlock until it's really all unlocked and released. And this is not about thinking that everything one day will be healed like perfectly, because I don't believe that we need to do that. I do believe that, when we get into the next step, when we're re-envisioning, when we're letting go of stuff, it's always a good thing to realize that we can release areas that have been locked, that have been cluttered, that feel sluggish. And so often when we're doing things a certain way, we don't even see, just because it's integrated and like a second nature in our life, we don't even see that there's a way of doing stuff like this that has so much more freedom, that is so much more light, and that we can really do with ease. And then life comes in and kind of like makes a roadblock, and we're like butting our head against a roadblock, and we're butting our head until we realize that it's not meant to be a roadblock to overcome. It's actually like for us to surrender and to move, like a river that is going down the stream, and that's arriving at an obstacle. So what do? Like you have to surrender to whatever is in front of you and move around, over, through in a different way. So I wrote a text that I'm going to read to you that illustrates this so well. And that's going to be our last time together for season 3 of the ReEnvision Podcast, which is going to morph and grow and evolve for the next season. And I'm so looking forward to whatever is coming our way, and exploring and giving us opportunity to experience and live more and love more. So here we go. Have you ever tried to get somewhere, to get something that usually would be so easy in the past, but you just can't get there anymore? And you try harder, and life answers, not this way, but you don't hear it, and you try harder, and life repeats, not this way. But you don't hear it, and you try even harder, and life nudges you and repeats again, not this way. This time you kind of heard a whisper, almost indistinguishable from the noise, that overwhelming noise. You think I must have made it up, imagine this. And then you just dive back in and try harder. And life sternly repeats, not this way. This time you know you heard it. And you answer, what do you mean, not this way? Life says you ask for something to change. You dreamt, you wished for a different life, didn't you? And then you reluctantly answer, yes. Then life says, then why are you doing things the same way you've always done it when you want different result? And then you say, well, I've been told, I've been shown, I've experienced to do it this way. And then life says, and are you satisfied currently with the result? And then you say, no, that's why I've asked for a change, for a different life. And then life says, then you'll need to do things differently, won't you? Thank you so much for being here for all of these 3 seasons. I am looking forward to seeing you and hearing you and connecting with you again. And in the meantime, I love you, I see you, I feel you. Take care.
Thank you for being part of today's ReEnvision episode. As the seasons of life shift, I invite you to always connect with the truth that you hold the power to navigate your own path with courage and wisdom. Embracing change with an open heart is central, for within lies the potential for remarkable growth and evolution. If you know someone who would benefit from this conversation, I'd be honored, truly honored, if you shared it with them and spread the love. If this podcast has resonated with you, please subscribe on your favorite platform, leave a heartfelt review, and share it in your network. You can stay connected with me on social media at ME Lifestyle Design, where I continue to share insights and inspiration. Until our next encounter, remember to re-envision your life with love, alignment, and purpose. Keep cultivating your curiosity, finding joy, magic, and freedom as often as you can. Now, today, and tomorrow. I love you, I see you, I feel you.